Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97 on ESPN Radio. My great pleasure to be with you. Happy Lawn Maintenance Tuesday. I'm Jeff, that's Tom, Director Matthew, filming the show. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do go back, get caught up at your leisure. We post all 3 hours podcast form. Some point, date and time, it'll get there to you, we promise. Via podcast on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, we hope. Hello, YouTubers. You want to email the show, you can. JCS at 97.ESPNradio.com. Twitter, it's at JCameron Today's a kind of a big day. We'll explain more in the 5 o'clock hour. Just kind of an announcement that affects the show, and it affects my boy here, Tom Lizzie. And we'll let you in on that. But it's a special day on the Jeff Cameron Show, so we're gonna have fun with it as we are wont to do anyhow. But stay tuned for 5 o'clock. We've kind of hinted in the last number of weeks that some changes were coming, and that they had to. Just in regards to our situation as a show and ESPN Radio in general. And so this affects that, or at least helps shine some light on that. And I just would invite you all to stay tuned throughout the entirety of the show. I always say that, but especially today in that 5 o'clock hour, because we'll give you some more clarity on some changes. But we also didn't want to spend 3 hours on that because that would be difficult and probably a bit much. All guests appear via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gain Street. Online at phoneherotlh.com. I was having a conversation, mutual friend of ours, Gene Williams, owner, founder, administrator of WarChant.com. He and I were talking a little bit, Tom, about, I alluded to this the other day because we're putting together top 40 lists for a video we're going to do, and I'm always a part of that, just like we usually do the draft thing and who we think's going to go. And those things have gotten increasingly disappointing and depressing to do because, like, for example, this past year, I was not involved with the projection of who would be drafted and who wouldn't, and I was happy not to be involved, not because I don't like working with those guys, but because it was like a guy, like a dude, like, this guy, and then maybe one other in the fourth. Turns out it would have been more, but not a lot more.
I remember the draft party, and one of the listeners said, "Who do you think's next?" I said, "I think Janarius is next." They go, "Janarius? You think he's going to get drafted?" And it's not because he actually did. It's just anybody who we listed, who I said. It could have been anybody. If I said, I don't know, Emmett Rice, let's just say, for example, he was going this year. They would have said, "You think Emmett Rice is going to get drafted?" That's where we are. That's where Wake has lived for decades. Syracuse.
Okay, so that actually brings me to my point. While I was talking to him, he said, "Jeff, have you checked the latest football mags? They just came out. Athlon came out, and another one came out. I don't know what the other one was. I don't know if it was
Lindy's.
Was it Lindy's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it actually was a fit of nostalgia for me while we were talking. You know, for the better part of my broadcasting career, and really since I've been an impassioned college football fan in general and covering both Florida State but also the ACC, all of college football, professional football, there are a series of steps that you go through in the offseason, and they act as markers. They act as something that marks the time where you say, okay, look, I get we've got a lot of time before we can really get into the weeds of the upcoming football season and who we think's going to do what. But certain things have happened over the years where you go, oh, well, that's cool. Check, check, check. Another thing in the order of things that have to happen for me to begin to get retrained and focused on the upcoming season. And I used to describe that as the system. I had a system. Lots of people had a system. It all began with going to your local bookstore or maybe perhaps supermarket counter or maybe a CVS. You'd go through the aisle where the magazines were and you'd see, oh, look at that. The new Athlon's out with the college football preview. Lindy's is out. Sporting News is out. Sports Illustrated is out. Whatever's out. And the way I describe the system is I used to gather each and every one of this. A lot of this is pre-internet or even before most of those magazines were kind of purchased digitally. I would go still and get the tangible copy of those magazines. I'd purchase them. I still like to hold, for example, a newspaper, just like I like to hold an album. But that said, I would get those magazines. Phil Steele's preview, of course, always sent to us here at the station. That was an exciting day when the mail would come and you'd go, ooh, we got this way too extensive look at college football in the mail today. Because you could line them up. You could decide on a lazy Sunday, however you wanted to do it. You could put it on your coffee table. I dare say you could put them in the bathroom, wherever you wanted to take your magazines and take your time building through, going conference by conference, team by team, getting a sense of what's what and who's who. So Gene says to me, for old time's sakes, Jeff, I saw these two were out. I picked them both up. I thought I'd peruse them, take a cursory glance at the upcoming previews for the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, Big 12, all that. And he said in doing so, he noted that Florida State didn't have anybody on the first team, didn't have anybody on the second team, didn't have anybody on the third team for the All-ACC preseason awards watch list. Nary a dude, not a guy, not one, nada, zilch, zero, no people whatsoever on any of the preseason first team, second team, third team projections. Meanwhile, Wake Forest, for example, had 7 such players. So that's a toughie. Well, going through that and listening to that, I thought, well, that is dark and that is depressing, but it got me circling back to win totals for the upcoming year, and this is what you do during your summer months. You start kind of looking at, there's a gambling angle, but also just a love of the sport and who's going to have a good year, who's going to have a bad year, who's the team that could surprise, who's got a veteran presence, who's got an elite quarterback, right? You're looking at certain things. Who's on the hot seat? These are all things like who's got to have a good year. For example, it's an interesting year for Georgia. Really interesting year for Kirby Smart, right? He's done a lot of things very well. One of those things is recruit. He's recruited exceptionally well.
I would have said privacy laws changed in the state, but sure.
Yeah, all part of the things, all fall under the category. He's done some things very well.
Yeah. He's moving some stuff around.
Yeah, but he's got a nice roster. He's had a consistently good roster for some time now. He's part of what we're going to have to overcome at Florida State because he's found a way to dip into Florida and take guys that when Florida State's right, he simply can't get. And that is, well, frustrating. For that matter, so is Clemson and Alabama and a number of other teams because we've been down and they've just walked into the state and stolen guys from a place that normally is able to safely protect the talent pool of players. They either go to Florida State or they go to Florida or they go to Miami or maybe they'll go these days to UCF or somebody like that. But they're not going to Clemson or Alabama or Georgia. But now they have been for some time now. So that's got to change. That's something that has got to change if Mike Norvell and his staff are going to have the kind of success we're hoping for them to have in the immediate future. But he's a guy, Kirby Smart, that I think there are an awful lot of expectations riding on this year, meaning veteran club in the East, Florida replacing a lot. Georgia should win the East. Thus, they'll be in the SEC championship. Win the SEC championship, you're going to the college football playoff. The only thing that eludes them is that national championship, well, at least in the modern era. So I think, Kirby Smart's not on the hot seat, but it's an uncomfortable year. They kind of have to do something big here. Alabama's replacing a lot. In particular, you lose the Davey O'Brien Award winner and everything else. You lose a Mac at quarterback. See what I did there? And now, listen, Bryce Young's going to be a good player, but this is going to be fascinating to see what they are. They could be had is kind of my point. Again, they reload in ways that most people only dream of, but they can be had. So Georgia has to make inroads here.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the graphics that are comparing Mark Richt's start to Kirby Smart.
Oh, right.
And it's like, here you go. Here's the first 40 games or the first 45 games.
How many do you want to look at?
And you see how similar it is between the two. You want to put that to bed. If you're Kirby, you want to put that to bed this year. And a win over Clemson can go a long way in the early season, as much as the first week can, to quell those things. This wouldn't be a year that he's on the hot seat, but it would be a year in which they'd open the flame under the seat if you don't get it done. If Florida was
to somehow... good way of describing that, sir.
Yeah, if Florida wins the East again this year and you lose to them at Jacksonville again, I mean, that's a disaster. And now you have to say, what the hell are we doing here? I mean, it's great that we were on the precipice of winning a national title and we got screwed by Nick deciding that he wanted to go to Tua out of nowhere. Well, that's all well and good. But you know what? Mark Richt had a completion, a catch inside the 10-yard line in the 2012 championship game in Atlanta. And if the kid just drops the ball, we probably win that national title anyway.
Certainly have a chance.
So here are apples and apples again, to where Richt was close, Kirby's close. Who's going to put us over the damn top?
Yeah, so I began that process and began looking at that team as well as several others. I began to look at certainly wagers and over-unders. I have one for you later in the hour if you care to get into it. We can certainly look at an interesting team in the form of Texas who has to replace Sam Ehlinger. So that's an interesting kind of a new coach
Probably
situation.
a good thing at this point, that new quarterback, new coach. That's what they needed.
Yeah, you start fresh. VSiN, if you're looking in Vegas, has Florida State at 5.5. You could do the over at plus 100.
Plus 100, huh?
Plus 100 if you want to go over the 5.5 for Florida State. And I tell you what,
That's crazy. That should be minus money.
I don't think so. I'll tell you what, man. I had to do this. I went through as a point of exercise and for something we're going to be doing soon. And it hurts to say it.
You think 5 and 7 is more likely than 6 and 6? Ooh.
No.
Sounds like
No, I don't, but I think it's really razor thin. I do think it's razor thin. My greatest concern continues to fall back on if anybody gets hurt with these starting units. You just don't have depth to withstand that. If you lose a starting offensive lineman, they don't have a suitable replacement. If you lose, if you lose a defensive lineman, if Big Coop, I mean, knock on wood, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
if you
Lovett
lose,
goes down, Jermaine Johnson,
you
Love
don't
Taylor.
have really anybody. You don't have a lot of experience or a depth of talent that you're going to fall back on and go, okay, well, we'll be all right. You just don't have that. And what you end up doing this time of year when you go through the magazines and you get insulted by the groups that say, look, Florida State doesn't have any talent. I'm not there yet. I think what the biggest aspect that gets overlooked when you begin to talk about why Florida State could be appreciably better than 5 wins. And by appreciably, I mean maybe they win 7 games, okay? I think the way that you would make the case for Florida State is to say that of the 4 kind of 50-50 games that are out there, you think that they're going to win 3 of them. And one of the reasons that, and by the way, those games as follows: Wake Forest, Louisville, NC State,
Boston College.
Okay, so those are your 4 kind of up in the air. Couple are at home, couple are on the road. You got to go really dissect those games. Wake's got a ton of experience and talent coming back. It's a road game. It's a very important game. We've talked about it all offseason. Those 3 games.
That's the one.
Oh, that's the biggest. It's not the Notre Dame game, right? It's that game.
That's true.
You're exactly right. You got to win that game, man.
We're tailgating for that game right now.
Yeah.
Right in here, between the ears.
That's true. But you would do. That's what you do. You would say, okay, I think they're going to beat NC State at home. NC State feels very good about their chances on the over, by the way, of their win totals, and for good reason. But if you're going to look at Florida State specific, you're going to say, okay, well, but they get NC State here, and we always play well against them here. And you get Louisville here, and we always play well against Louisville here.
Even under Willie, yeah.
So then the 2 on the road, you just got to win one of those because you have 3 automatic wins: Jacksonville State, UMass, and Syracuse.
Yep, indeed.
Those are 3 automatic wins, okay? 3 wins. Now you got to find me 3 more for me to win the bet. Where are those 3 coming from? Unless you think they're going to upset Notre Dame, certainly a possibility, but less than 50-50 chance you're going to win that game. All right, so Notre Dame, you think you're going to upset them? Probably not. They're your best contender, maybe. Miami?
Mm-hmm. That's more likely than Notre Dame.
Okay. Well, do you think they're going to upset Florida or Clemson? No and no,
No
right?
and no.
Okay, so you can really dig down deep now. You can get into it. You've got to win one of – we're getting to 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to win either the road Boston College late in the year, cold weather, well-coached team last year, by the way.
It was.
I'm a little worried about that game.
Well, it's sandwiched between 2 rivalry
yes, it
games.
is.
That's annoying.
Yeah, okay, there it is. They got to find a way to either win that game or that Wake Forest game. We keep coming back to that because you're also making an assumption about Louisville and NC State that I don't know is fair.
Correct, but can I interject once again?
You're going to interject North Carolina?
I am.
No, man. They're not beating North Carolina.
All right.
Okay, well, listen, take that bet, jump on it now. If you think they're going to beat North Carolina, we're going to cruise past 5.5. But I'm just saying that the odds are
In some ways,
steeped against us.
In some ways, I feel better about that game than I do Boston College because of where Boston College is on the schedule, where North Carolina is on the schedule, and North Carolina's bread and butter was their running game. I get that they've got a good quarterback. They tried to win with a quarterback last year and not run the ball, and they lost to us last year.
I know, man.
That's crazy.
You're going to carry that over to this year.
Well, they can't carry over Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. That's a big damn deal.
All right. Well, we're going to have some bets together, buddy.
I'm fired up for that North Carolina. I just want to watch games in the state of North Carolina. What have I turned into? Swaffy Light?
I'll tell you what. Go through the exercise. Have fun with it. Get mad at the magazines and then go look at win totals, projections for the year. There are lines, of course, for early season games. I did this with Alabama. I did this with Florida State. I did this with a few other teams. Bama, for example, is a whopping 17.5-point favorite over Miami early in the year. I kind of like Bama in that game, whereas I don't like them on the road against Florida 2 weeks later. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to lose to Florida, but if you're going to give me Florida by more than 2 touchdowns, okay, I'll take the 15 at home for a young quarterback making a road start with an actual full stadium. That's a lot to replace. They're losing a ton on offense.
You never know. Mullen may say something incredibly dumb, more than he usually does.
That's hourly. It doesn't matter.
It might be a new level, and now you've got problems behind the scenes because when it fell for Urban, it fell fast.
This happens all the time. There are unforeseen circumstances and or suggestions that the end is nigh. Yes, I understand there are things to look at down there in Gainesville where you say the culture's not healthy. But if we're just looking at the bodies that they put in that uniform who take the field, they've got a very distinct advantage over the likes of us, for example, right now. We are a ways off from a talent standpoint. So I guess my point would be that game's not likely. I know we're talking about Alabama, Florida. They still have athletes all over the field. Road game, packed house. You're going to give me 15 points. I need Florida to score 17. I'd probably cover if they score 17 points, 14 points. I got 29.
Screw the Gators.
Of course. I'm just saying I'm trying to win money, Tom. It's that time of year to zero in. Have you taken a look at the Texas Tech Red Raiders win total? Have you bothered? By the way, something that did stand out has nothing to do with nothing. I couldn't believe it. What is going on at Stanford? They have fallen off a cliff. You know what their win total is at Stanford?
3.5.
4.
Is that so?
4.
Oh, but don't worry, though. David Shaw can tell you everything you need to know about the NFL draft.
4.
Everything. He knows everything about every prospect.
Sweet Jesus, 4.
Look at what he's doing with all that recruiting advantage.
You know what the over-under on the win total is of USF?
That would be South Florida, not San Francisco.
That's correct.
2.5.
3.
Okay.
Good call. Good call, Tommy. Good call, buddy. You know who else is at 3? UTEP. That's where USF sits. Right there next to UTEP.
The miners.
Right there next to UTEP and Akron and Vanderbilt.
Excuse me, sir. Are you a miner?
No, I'm a Louisiana Monroe Warhawk, and we have a 1.5 win total.
Ooh.
1.5.
They should play Kansas for the over-under. That's it.
Yeah. You can take the under 1 with Kansas at plus 125. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. We will hop on a transfer portal phone. We will hop on a phone call, baby. I'll get to that in a minute. Whoever our dude is, or woman for that matter, I'm sorry, monitoring that portal, they are on it son of a bitch. They are right there. Go, 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 go.
They close their eyes, and all they hear is the sound, and it rouses them from their half sleep.
I think that's a sound that is a constant. The portal just makes that sound. When somebody falls into, for lack of a better term, the portal, it goes ding. Oh, there it is. Go. See about that.
There you go.
Quick.
Yeah, there you go.
Quick. So, just because, this is my cup of tea, but just as an aside, this isn't a good thing. And it doesn't affect me personally, but I'm picturing people throwing chairs across rooms right now. If you had Tyler Glasnow to win the strikeout total for the season in Major League Baseball as to be the one with the most strikeouts, you, in the last 48 hours, have been on a roller coaster. Because Bieber ended up being lost for a significant period of time due to injury, and Glasnow was in second behind him by 10 strikeouts. And you thought, here we go, baby. Sorry to see the injury, buddy, but Glasnow's a can't miss. Well, he kind of came out of the game in the fourth inning yesterday, and they just announced that he has a partially torn UCL and flexor tendon strain. He's going to attempt to rehab it in the hopes that he can return at some point this season.
Oh, no.
And like that, it's gone. And it's gone.
Don't worry. We can just transfer money from your account into a portfolio with your son, and it's gone.
Oh, that's a toughie. Futures are tough. I mean, that you were feeling really good.
I feel like we need to repurpose the Lewin forecaster for future bets. I mean, because couldn't you? I mean, it already knows how to forecast. Mm-hmm. You just need to repurpose it for win totals or championships or MVP races, things like that.
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy futures.
I'm picturing him like, because I read the news about Bieber. I was like, oh, man, you got Glasnow. You're in heaven right now. It is kind of sad. That's what I thought of. I didn't think about the actual baseball. I didn't think about the effects on the Rays, who can't lose anymore and have been dominant, is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in all of baseball. And I'm like, oh, boy, this really affects the number now. I didn't even really think about the actual, oh, damn it, man. They feel like a real World Series contender. That is a big blow to their chances. That's devastating. No, I was like, oh, man, those poor guys that had that.
See, at that point, you need to jump on the Blue Jays futures for the AL East title, right? Because now they just got even better. Have you seen the numbers for Vlad Guerrero and what he's done?
Yes, I've been blown away, but I still don't.
So Vlad Guerrero Jr. is leading all Triple Crown
it's a
categories.
Home run with 2 outs in the ninth, yeah.
So I know that the Triple Crown is a little bit dated, but he leads all 3 of those
it's still
categories
fun, yeah.
After 60 games. 2 months of play, right? And he's done so at the age of 22. He's the youngest to lead the Triple Crown categories this late in the season since Al Kaline in the 50s.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, my man is killing it.
So I got to give Josh Newberg credit here as I see that Mike Norvell is in contact as I reference the portal. Here you go. Oklahoma offensive tackle transfer visit is planned. Boom! That's what you do. Come on, baby. I, again, hold out hope. I'm not under the illusion that my man is going to choose Florida State, but damn it, wouldn't that be something? That's exciting. It is a chance. We'll see. As I'm just, every time a name pops up, you immediately get excited. I get excited. I saw it. He's in contact with an Oklahoma offensive tackle who is visiting, who is planning a visit.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
Most of the time, when there is a tackle that is the caliber of player that would be at an Oklahoma and the success they've had in building dominant offensive lines year in and year out, I just assume that we're not at a place just yet where we can lure that individual to Tallahassee, that instead he will be receiving offers from the likes of, I don't know, Alabama, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, and others that are at Georgia, Clemson, that are in a place to win. And Oklahoma certainly is annually in a place to win, and we're not. But, buddy, be the difference maker. Be the one that turns it around. Be the one that is the catalyst, the impetus for change, great change, a day in the life where you can look back many moons from now and say, I helped do that. I, along with Jermaine Johnson and others, brought Florida State back to a place of respectability and even dominance. It was me, Mackenzie Milton, Jermaine Johnson, and a few others that turned the corner for the Noles, and I am still proud of it. Oh, sure, I could have stayed at OU, gone to the college football playoff, could have stayed at Oklahoma. Instead, at that point, deciding to leave, could have gone to Georgia or Clemson or Alabama. But nay, I said I'm going to the Garnet and Gold, a once proud program of sheer dominance that once again will be because of me and a few others.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
Yeah.
What's that dude's name? Do we even know?
Uh,
Stacey Wilkins. His name is Stacey Wilkins.
which comes from the Latin for better than anything we have.
When you look at Stacey Wilkins, you go, that guy looks better than anything we have, but you don't know it. You don't know it. It is usually, I think, these days a safe assumption. But, man, wouldn't that be something?
Oh, man. The portal's been handed
It's
off.
just, well, given some announcements later in the day, I've got to get ready. I got. Oh,
Here's my worry. So, according to this report, he's heard from us, Central Arkansas, Mizzou, Syracuse, Indiana, and Ole Miss.
damn it! What happened? This guy was maybe just not a good fit at all at OU. What in the world?
6'6", 300 pounds.
I like him. He's a starter right here. Dominant player, instantaneous.
Former 4-star recruit.
Come
Obviously,
on down, baby. Let's go.
He was in the class of 2019, so I guess he's got some time. Class of 2019. Everybody got a freebie in 2020, so if we get him, he would be a multi-year player.
6'6", 300 plus.
300 even, so we got to do a little bit on the plus. Maybe a couple of pancakes can add a couple of pounds, right?
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
Well, and at 6'6", there's some length there with the arms. I don't know. I feel like this is a good fit. You know, the more I look at it, Tom, I feel like this is a real good fit. This may be a match made in heaven. This may be a no-brainer for the young man. Stacey may already, he may be, on the way, donning the garnet, has the hat on, doesn't need the other visits. What were the other schools?
I believe it was Central Arkansas.
No chance. Why are you going to Central Arkansas? What are you doing?
Syracuse.
No, Syracuse. They'll be lucky to win a game.
Mizzou.
Pretty good team. Little underrated SEC squad this year, but still not where you want to be.
Indiana.
Nope.
Ole Miss.
Nope.
And more calls to return later in the day,
The
according to the 24/7 report.
Yeah, so far, far and away, the most cachet, the more prestigious of the institutions that have listed there are, without question, it is Florida State and nobody else on that list. So I'm not worried about that group. I mean, there's no fanfare in going to Mizzou, Syracuse, Central Arkansas. Forget about it. The problem is competing with Ole Miss money. You know, Ole Miss money does get in the way a little bit here.
They have money, but we have breakfast.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
Sir, if that happens, I think I love this is where we're at. Every day, another tackle or offensive lineman of any kind puts his name in the transfer portal, and we go, let's get on it. We are on it, by the way. That is one thing that can be shown time and again. There are no offensive linemen anywhere in the world. There could be a dude in some makeshift league in Germany that decides to put his name out there. We're on it. We're calling that dude. We don't even know who he is. Hans is out there giving up the bike racing and saying, I'm going to do it.
I was naturally very big. It is time to return to my natural size.
Well, whatever it is, I do like that we are all in. One of the funny things, too.
That's why I'm so slow.
When you
I'm
go,
265
yeah,
in
we'll
American pounds.
Get you to 300, Hans. I think that one thing is abundantly clear, and I've just wondered how Florida State players have thought about this. I mean, listen, you show up, you work hard. If you're here right now, you care deeply. You're all in. You've bought in, and you are going to be part of the solution. But I do think it's pretty funny that every time a name goes into the portal, Florida State's one of the first to contact that individual, and you do wonder how that makes anybody that's currently on the roster feel. Like, good Christ, is there a name out there from any school that could enter the portal that my coaches wouldn't instantly be on the phone pining for? Anybody?
Seriously, guys, this is the last one that we're going to call. This is it.
Coach, we've got 47 transfer portal guys in here. We don't have. You let us worry about that, guys.
Show them around.
Yeah,
give them a look around campus.
Give them a look around. I mean, that is. Mike clearly walked off the field after a 3-6 campaign and exhaled and went, okay, we're going to have to get some talent. We're going to have to get better players. Apparently, they're everywhere but here. We're going to call anybody and everybody that puts their name into that portal. Let's get on the horn, friends.
Odell, was your eligibility for
you ever fully
offensive line?
Yeah.
You know, do you have a year or two for offensive line? Does it work like that? Can we move you to the other side of the ball?
Oh my God. Again, I like that they're on it. They're diligent, but it's glaring, those efforts on an hourly basis to bring in more folks that they said, we got to do something different right now, guys. Florida State baseball adding a North Carolina, UNC, yes, University of North Carolina. The one that is allowed to cheat without the NCAA coming down on them at all for making up an entire class.
Because it was available to the general student body.
Or that there they were. Cozy on up to the powers that be. They got a pitcher from North Carolina, Joseph Charles. I bring it up because when he was first coming out of high school, he's from the state of Florida. It was disappointing to hear that he was committing to North Carolina because he throws hard and was extremely well thought of. He was a top 5 pitcher from the right-hand side, according to Perfect Game. He was a top 10 prospect overall on the mound, according to Perfect Game. And he throws 94 to 97 with the fastball. He got up to Chapel Hill and he got hurt and had the arm surgery. And he throws a mid-70s curveball. He's really quite nasty. 3 pitches for strikes. Really good. Slider, fastball, curveball. But because he got hurt, he pitched very little with North Carolina. He is now far enough removed from his time there and from, more importantly, the surgery, and he's decided to transfer into Florida State, and it will be a full go upon arrival.
Okay.
He is healthy and ready to pitch. And he has talked a little bit about making his way to Tallahassee, but he's really excited. The portal process was crazy. The second you're in, coaches from all types of schools are reaching out in different ways all day and night for the first week or so. I really liked FSU from the start. After talking to the coaches, it was an easy decision for me. I feel like they create a great environment for their players to succeed, and getting to come back to Florida was a big part of that for me. 2 years left of college baseball. He's ready to bring experience and obviously nasty repertoire of pitches to the mound for Florida State.
Okay, so he's got 2 years of experience, but he's on a contract here because if he whoops ass this season, he'll get drafted by the bigs and he's off, and that's fine. You want guys with incentive. You want dudes with an axe to grind, a chip on their shoulder, or redemption on their mind. He's got the latter of the 3, and awesome. We need somebody to fortify our rotation. I'm assuming he's going to start. That this doesn't sound like somebody who comes in as a closer and wants to be a reliever prospect, but we'll see.
Yeah, and they also added a JUCO commitment. They've got a middle infielder. They've brought in a bat. So they're recruiting well. I just think this whole thing is going to be interesting for the next 2 years for Florida State baseball. They got to find a way to expedite some of those weaknesses into strengths and get that momentum back. They have really begun to reach out and get quite a few of the elite level pitchers that UF used to get. And now Florida looks like they're about to be in shambles. So you have a chance to capitalize even more. You owned Miami this year. They don't look like they're moving in the right direction. So within the state, I mean, you were 4-0 against them this year. They were disappointedly bounced in that regional. If you read the Miami Herald, I did right after they got bounced. They were sort of intimating that this is not going well for their coach. So you got a chance to capitalize and really get some of the upper tier prospects that would otherwise look at a couple other teams within the state or even in the Southeast region in general. So that's good news.
Yeah, I thought at the end of the season that, the over-under on different names in the starting batting lineup, batting order, would be 6.5. I set that number at 6.5, and that might be light. It might be. I should have set it at 7.5.
Yeah.
I think this team's going to look very, very different. Very different in the batting order.
I think we would argue they need to. That was a poor showing. It was difficult to watch this year in terms of strikeouts and non-competitive at-bats and all that.
But if this kid is good, along with your top 2 starters, and then if Montgomery comes around, I mean, you've got yourself a real frontline group of guys that are ready to go, that are flamethrowers. I don't know if I read this correctly or not, but I think Kwiatkowski has another year left in him too, and he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you've got a lot of pieces to start with in that rotation and on the pitching staff in general, guys that can give you long relief. And I'm sure I'm missing a few names, but the pieces are there, at least in that regard. But you've got to get better in the field. You got to get better at the dish for sure. And I would imagine that lineup on opening day of next year, in February, we're going to have to get used to a whole lot of new names, and hopefully they're badasses, JUCO kids and young recruits combined.
This in no way works together. It's a poor segue from the host. but I was during the break thinking about placing a bet. And, I mean, I know we're in the middle of doing a show.
On who?
And all of that. I was going to take the under for the Texas Longhorns in the upcoming college football season. I noticed that over-under number is 8, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to win 9 games for me to lose the bet. That's the way you look at that.
Have you looked at the schedule?
Yes, they have a roadie against Arkansas early in the year. They're wins.
All right. How you doing?
Losses.
Damn it! We lost! We f***ing super lost, man!
Where do we triumph? Where doth thou fall? Well, all right, here you go, Texas. I don't have to do this with you, but it's a special day on the Jeff Cameron Show. We have an announcement in the 5 o'clock hour you'll want to hear. And, oh, by the way, Tejas, Louisiana Lafayette is no pushover to start the year.
Oh.
That is a very experienced football team. If you can find the number to your liking out there, by the way, maybe take Louisiana Lafayette and the points. But in addition, they have to go on the road to an up-and-coming Woo Pig Suey. We all know that. Right after that, a week later. Now, when you're making a change at quarterback and you have a new offensive system to boot, we could have a dicey one early.
Okay, well, week 3 is rice. So you would think white rice, brown rice,
All I
basmati.
know is rice.
All I know is rice.
2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 facing Texas Tech at home. That's 3-1.
3-1.
TCU
Roadie
on
against
the road.
TCU's a loss.
Is it? Is TCU anything?
It's a loss.
What are they anymore?
That's a loss.
All right,
They'll get stomped by OU per usual.
that's true.
Oklahoma State, pretty tough win to get. Baylor, we'll see. Dude, do you see 9 wins on this schedule for Texas? 9?
I see.
Roadie against Iowa State, they're going to lose that game? Oh, buddy, I don't know. I don't see 9 wins.
I see 6 surefire wins.
Now you got to find me 3 more to have me lose the bet. Now I can push at 8.
Right.
I'm taking under 8 to win outright. So okay, that'd be great. But I'm almost assured a push here. They're not winning 9 games in year 1. They're not.
Yeah, it should be 7.5. That number's off. That number is off.
Hence your boy taking the under
All right.
8, buddy. There you go.
We didn't give you the full schedule. Just trust us, folks.
Well, okay. Toss-up game against Oklahoma State. Toss-up game against Baylor. Road loss to Iowa State. They'll pound Kansas. Road game against West Virginia. Toss-up game. I assume they're going to beat Kansas State. They don't have a lot of automatic wins is my point. Like, even Louisiana Lafayette could get dicey. Arkansas could get dicey out of conference. Road game. Rice is an automatic win. Do you see many other automatic wins here? I don't, my friend.
I think it's 5 to 6 autos, and then there's 2 or 3 that they're going to lose, and so they've got to figure out that in the middle.
Kansas is automatic. Rice is automatic.
Yep.
I think I'm done with automatics.
Lafayette's automatic.
Buddy, you and I are
I
going to
think
have a
K-State's
side
automatic.
wager. I'll give you K-State. Louisiana Lafayette's better than K-State. Louisiana Lafayette's going to give them a game.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this your new Utah State?
I'm just saying,
Have
take
we
a good
discovered the
look.
new Utah State?
Listen, this is what summer's for, people. Get on it early. Go take a look at the La there. Solid. That's going to be a tester. Folks in Austin are going to be wringing their hands. Why are we in a game in the fourth quarter? Damn it, man. Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. I am Jeff. That is Tom. Director Matthew filming the show. Those of you listening and watching, we appreciate it. Hello, YouTubers. Email the show if you like, jcs at 97.ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at JCameronShow. Major League Baseball announcing today that pitchers will be ejected and suspended for 10 games for using illegal foreign substances to doctor baseballs in what is a part of a league-wide crackdown. That begins this upcoming Monday. The record number of strikeouts, a league batting average at more than half a century low. And MLB has said, nay, not sitting around idly by doing nothing after this. We got to get something figured out here. They're going to check all pitchers, even opposing managers don't have to request inspections but can. Repeat offenders will receive progressive discipline. Teams and club employees will be subject to discipline for failure to comply, including being fired. So there's a lot on the line here.
I'm sure it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of I'm looking for it now. I never was before. But in the last couple of days of watching MLB, I have seen a lot of breaking balls that end up above the catcher's helmet. They don't break down, from relievers and starters alike. And I wonder if that is the getting used to it process without the tack. A lot of flat breaking balls that aren't even strikes. It's not like they're right down the middle.
Yeah.
It's just they're like over the shoulders of the batter. And I'm thinking, was he one of them? Was this guy one of them?
Well, I think some of the most dominant pitchers in the league all fall into that category. I mean, we've seen this. We've watched as the concern for the number of strikeouts have continued to rise in each and every subsequent year that we talk about the problems within the sport and what has to happen. But when you've seen some of the likes of Garrett Cole and others do things to a baseball that you thought, how's that possible? You throw 101 and you start a ball at a guy's head, lands at his feet? What's going on? And then the spin rates that we were able to tangibly look at thanks to modern analytics, you saw things that you just couldn't believe were possible anymore, and you thought, okay, well, pitchers have properly utilized science in a way that for years hitters did, but now they've gotten the upper hand, and now baseball doesn't know what to do about it. Everybody throws 100, and they all have filthy breaking balls. What are you going to do? Well, come to find out, it wasn't natural. They couldn't actually make the baseball do those things. It's not real. They needed foreign substances, if you will, to be able to do all of that. And their expertise within the realm of the use of those substances became prolific. It went from, hey, this keeps me from losing my grip to, hey, not only do I not lose my grip, thus I have better control, I can do crazy things with this baseball. I can make this thing, you want to talk about falling off a table.
Now, what is it about the pitcher that we give a free pass, no pun intended, so often in the history of the sport with spitballs and scuff balls and all that kind of
pine
stuff?
tar on the inside of the
And
Vaseline.
And yet, with a hitter, I understand one's a syringe and another one is a substance that's put on a baseball, but it's cheating. Cheating is cheating. Why is it not viewed the same with as much outrage as there was for hitters?
Especially since the sport is geared towards pitcher dominance. Like, the sheer act of trying to hit a round ball with a round bat is one of the hardest things in the world to do if no substance has been put on the ball. If somebody throws 85 dead down the middle, like you take the average Joe and put him in the batter's box and say, hey, he's going to throw you this 85 right down the heart. Make good contact. Drive this ball. Most people can't. It's hard to do. And if you do it, you don't do it with great regularity. So the game is already bent towards domination by pitchers. And yet we do give them a pass when they take it the extra level, the extra step. It is bizarre.
I got to give credit to ESPN, actually, for talking about this. Well, it's a rare thing, I'll say. But, it's a lot of times they'll say stuff. I'm like, well, that's sensationalism. But I forget who brought it to the table during a broadcast, one of their podcasts like broadcast. And they said, what is it about that? Why do we as a society hate the hitter more than the pitcher? And yet, if you really think about it, the pitcher's been doing this for way longer than the hitters ever did.
Yeah, it is nuts. I went back and read an article back on May 20th, and it's been refreshed because of the new policy being put in place on ESPN Insider. And they're talking, and it's by Alden Gonzalez. And with the piece, the accompanying video that goes with that is with Tim Kirchin and Buster Olney and Passon and all these guys talking about why this is so important. So I referenced this article because the first part of it's dated, so you know, but the numbers are the numbers, and they continue to grow from this point forward. It's May 20th. There are already 6 no-hitters in Major League Baseball, 2 shy of the record for an entire season, which was set in 1884. The 6th was thrown by Yankees right-hander Corey Kluber in Arlington, Texas on Wednesday night. Again, dated material here, I understand, but the point will remain. Kluber's outing marked the 11th time a pitcher had completed at least 7 no-hit innings in 2021. That is a new Major League record through the end of May. Since the league expanded dating back to 1961, it was, at the time, the 4th no-hitter in 15 days. No-hitters are fun, even as they become a bit diluted, but hitting has never been more difficult than it is currently, and the league is hell-bent on correcting that. The experiments taking place at the lower levels have received most of the attention, but just as important is what's going on now in Major League Baseball, where the league is beginning to crack down on pitchers using foreign substances like never before. What follows is an explainer of how we got here, why it's important, and what must be done next. And so I invite you to read the rest of this, but you see some staggering numbers that led Major League Baseball to look and say, okay, there's just no way we can turn the other way and not do something about this in season. Usually they wait to the off season to make major changes, especially rules changes and things that you can or cannot do for hitters or pitchers. A longtime pitching coach who pitched in the 90s, estimated that 90% of a pitching staff use foreign substances that would violate the rules that are written in Major League Baseball's codes. That rule, 6.02c, states that a pitcher can never apply a foreign substance of any kind to a baseball before pitching it. But it was largely accepted because of this dated and antiquated view of it by hitters who thought, oh, well, I'll get hit if I don't let them do this. And we know that's simply not true. Now,
Not
maybe
with this stuff.
Not with this stuff. You're not going to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about spin rates. It's about the ability for 2 things: the ball to break more than it should, and also the ball to spin more so gravity does not have as much of an effect. They did a great job on MLB Network last night, on MLB Tonight, breaking down the different substances over time and what effect they had on the baseball, be it the spitball, be it the Vaseline put on a baseball, and now this particular thing. That's why you're seeing fastballs have an explosiveness to them. It looks like they're rising, which is not real. It's an illusion, but they don't dip as much as they used to. And this stuff helps with that, just like it helps with a curveball to curve more and bite more. It's amazing.
Well, the bottom line is this. You've heard us talk about it a lot. I do care about the sport. I may be a dinosaur. Maybe I'm the last of a dying breed who do this work and still talk about this sport as frequently as I do. I know most of the attention now turns to basketball and other sports. And I love the NBA, and I'm currently watching the playoffs. I even stayed up late last night, watched Kawhi Leonard dominate, watched really what I thought was going to be a blowout win for the Sixers suddenly turn stark in the second half as Joel Embiid went 0 for 12 and looked beyond hobbled, impotent, including missing a dunk 2 feet from the rim with 10 seconds to play. I mean, come on, my man. Anyhow, that said,
I saw Terrence Mann got 15 minutes last night.
I also saw Terrence Mann hoisting way too many threes and bricking all of them, and I was thinking, that's not your game. Don't do that. But then I fell asleep. It was late, Tom. It was late. It was also fairly evident that the Clippers were going to win that game. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if they would win the remaining games. They're not. They're not losing.
Clippers Suns, huh? That's an interesting series.
Great series because the Suns are the story of the playoffs, and I mean, really quite cool to watch. That said, Major League Baseball, as I bring it back home one more second to put a ribbon on this, as a sport, MLB set a record for strikeout percentage each of the last 5 years. They broke the previous year's record each of the last 5 years. That's nothing short of a league spiraling into the doldrums, into a world of boredom, into lost fans and a generation that doesn't play or care to watch. That you can't have that. Even your most staunch baseball advocates, me, you, some of our friends, have had to admit over the last 2 years that there are nights you're like, I don't know, guys. This is 3 hours of watching nobody put the ball in play.
Yeah, it's probably the millennial in me because I can't completely fight that off. But I was earlier than you to the party of, my God, is the ball ever in play? And there's a difference between an outlier or a trend
Or a dominant day on the mound. Somebody's really good.
or a crisis.
Right.
This would be a crisis.
Oh, yes.
That's 5 years in a row. That's
No.
not a good trend at all.
That's no bueno. They've had to go in there and say, we got to do something. Also, by the way, I know StatCast has not been tracking baseball revolutions per minute and all that kind of stuff for very long. It hasn't been something that's been in play for us to look at the numbers for a prolonged period of time. But even in its short-term existence, we've seen the spin rate, the revolutions per minute and all that, that they can do. It's risen every year since StatCast became a thing, which was in 2015. So in each of the last 6 years, it's continued to go up. So pitchers, they got greedy. It's not like, okay, look, man, if you had just kept it within reason, maybe nobody would have noticed. But you kept pushing the envelope to a point where we're like, this seems foreign. This seems absurd. Like, this doesn't seem possible to do physically.
I remember the first time that I thought, what the hell are we doing here? And that was, and it doesn't matter what team it is, but it was a video of a Rays closer. I forget what the closer was, but he throws like a two-seamer that runs 6 feet.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I remember this. You're
Remember
like,
that
what
pitch?
are we doing?
What is this?
That's not even it looked like a wiffle ball.
The only way that could be possible naturally is if his fingers made it all the way to his elbow or something.
Yeah, I can remember seeing a couple of pitches. You're right. That's funny. I forgot about that. And I remember thinking, well, that's a wiffle ball pitch. That's a backyard wiffle ball YouTube video.
It started on inner half and it ended out the other side of the right-hander's batter box. It was crazy.
It really was unhittable. And you kept thinking, well, any moment his elbow will explode from his body. This will be interesting. But that is something to see.
It was all too common. Other guys could do it with sliders. That's the one thing I heard a lot of. It's the sliders and the changeups. 95, 93.
You're like, who throws a 92-mile-per-hour slider with that
Right.
kind of break? Yeah. No, we watched it. It's amazing. U.S. Open week, no, they did not put Brooks and Bryson together. Probably for the best. I'm actually already over that. I'm done with that. I kind of hate that it's asked about all the time. I also don't think it's in Brooks Koepka's interest to prolong that. It's low-hanging fruit.
Right, you've already won.
You've already won. It's low-hanging fruit. And I'll be honest with you, in an era in which post-pandemic fans have felt liberty in charging the golf course, charging the basketball court, charging baseball fields, doing weird things in their interactions, throwing stuff at players, don't encourage this. It's not good. Frankly, it's a little bit of a form of bully that is not becoming. And just leave it alone. The fans are going to do what they're going to do. You've already won that part of it. And I don't know. It's not like I like Bryson. The guy's an ass. We get it. Just leave it alone. Be above the fray. Be above the fray. It's going to be a U.S. Open. We don't need it. I'm fearful.
Yeah, you're Mr. U.S. Open over the last 5 years. Just go ahead and do what you do and finish in the top three and maybe a couple of putts drop and you win.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Kind of a weird U.S. Open week. I mean, we don't tend to ignore the U.S. Open. It's a big to-do. Our national championship, Tom.
Oh, you beat me
It
to
is
it.
our national championship.
I was going to drop down with
I
the
knew
radio
you were.
voice and everything.
Yeah.
Our national
Welcome
championship.
into our national championship. Here we go from Torrey Pines. Well, it's a hell of a step up from the stupid-ass Palmetto Championship at Congaree, which I think 7 people watched. That poor dude that won last week from the European Tour, it's his first ever PGA Tour victory. He's young. He's only, I think, been in, 7 starts, and he wins.
Second American start that
Yeah.
I'm aware of. Or PGA start, I should say.
Yeah, and he wins, and that's great for him. And everybody's like, yeah, well, that seems about right. That's the guy that should win that Palmetto event. It's the Canadian Open being played in South Carolina.
Right, yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Had to repurpose it because of the border. But the great news is about the U.S. Open, it's West Coast golf. It's prime time.
Into the night, baby.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, I think it's interesting. There are a couple of things to point out here. If you're a gambler, God bless you. If you're a gambler, you're my kind of guy or gal. And if you're a gambler, this is your week, man. The U.S. Open is an awful lot of fun. And there are very intriguing candidates this week because of, A, where it's being played and who's come into form. I think what is really, really interesting, if you go back to hometown courses, you'll hear a lot about Phil, right? This hasn't always been his cup of tea. He's had some bad outings on this track. He's also won on this track, but it was many moons ago, a long time ago. Also, he's now 51. I mean, I don't know if we're going to one-up ourselves a major later, but it would be kind of funny and cool if he did. It would rather be remarkable, but
Oh, my God.
I don't see it. But, yeah.
You could make a short film on Golf Channel, straight to Golf Channel, about what he did for the PGA Championship. But if he won back-to-back majors,
In his 50s.
that
breaks
would
his own
be
record.
a film made in Hollywood.
Well, the
That's
reason it would be
crazy.
is because he's never won the U.S. Open. He would complete the career Grand Slam. He's finished second 6 times. I mean, he would fall to his knees. That would be unreal.
He'd also play himself. He'd put it into production right now. He'd be Audie Murphy and say, "Oh, let me play me."
Yeah.
That's fine. I can handle it.
I think he'd actually handle it well. He probably would. But when you talk about hometown courses, there's an added pressure that comes to that when you've played in a place, and not everybody handles that very well.
Oh, I'm worried about Xander Schauffele.
Except his worst finish in 4 U.S. Opens is 6th.
6th. Mm-hmm.
In addition, he did crack the code. He finished runner-up at the Farmers Insurance Open in his hometown. So he was a guy who broke through and played well this year in his own place.
But there is something, too, when the pressure is squarely on his shoulders. He hasn't proven to himself yet that he can overcome said pressure. And when you have daddy over your shoulder at all times.
Yeah, that's true. I think he should move on from that. It is
There
weird.
was a special that's airing this week. I actually saw it this morning about all the stuff that's going into this particular U.S. Open. They showed the behind the scenes of the moment the Farmers was open and the grounds crew and all the stuff they went through with the USGA. It's really fascinating for golf nerds, but then it pivots to the story of the hometown kid and Xander and his father. And my God, I thought his dad was overbearing. It is now confirmed that he is incredibly overbearing. That's no good.
No, it's not, but he has achieved so much. Everything you can achieve without winning a major. I mean, if he gets it, I feel like if he kicks down the door, it won't matter. But each time we go past one of these tournaments, one of these majors, we know what happens. The buildup becomes unbearable, and some guys overcome it eventually. I mean, Sergio Garcia eventually did win the Masters, and it became that crowning moment, what should have been many moons ago. He should have won 4 majors, and by rights, he really got chopped at one of the British Opens. But, I mean, I do think he's young enough and will eventually win. I think the bigger question I have is, and nobody was in better form before obviously being told to have a good day and taken on to the house to quarantine than Jon Rahm, who looked like he was about to run away not only with the tournament 2 weeks ago, but also every aspect of his game, which is special, seemed to be raring to go. I wonder if, while quarantined as he was, did he get enough reps in to regain that form as we come into this week? Because then he would be your odds-on favorite.
As long as he's not presenting any signs of fatigue through the case of COVID, which is, I mean, it can
never
happen.
know. Yeah.
You don't know what his
Well,
day-to-day
remember,
existence was.
he was asymptomatic, though. And as far as I've read, he still was.
Okay. Well, then I am going to assume that his team said, the hell with the fact that you have COVID. I've got the vaccine. We're going to get together. Maybe I stand a couple steps farther back than I would, but we're going to full steam ahead this thing. I mean, you were 6 strokes up at the Memorial. I think we need to continue to work because you seem to be in fine physical condition. So my guess is his swing coach and maybe his caddy
he wasn't
or
sitting
his
around
team,
doing nothing.
I think they were on his property and getting ready to go. It's just that he stayed away from everybody else.
So I guess you would look at it this way. If you're going to look at favorites that I would shade this week or push away from as opposed to favorites that I like, I don't want to be near Rory McIlroy this week. I know he's a guy that if you look at Vegas's odds, he's got some of the best odds to win this tournament. I don't want to be anywhere near Justin Thomas this week, who has not been in good form.
Who is the betting favorite, oddly.
But along with that betting favorite is Jon Rahm and Dustin Johnson, who found form. And that was interesting just in the nick of time. He played really well last week.
What's interesting is I saw a breakdown of his putting from 4 to 8 feet on Poa. And this is Poa Nua, whatever you want to pronounce it. But apparently on this particular surface, these types of Poa greens, which are a little bit different than those just to the north, he's had real trouble. Brandel Chambly, our favorite resident expert who really delves into these numbers, looked at his relative performance at Pebble Beach and other courses up the West Coast versus specifically Torrey Pines. And from 4 to 8 feet on this property, he's terrible. He's god-awful. And what Brandel was positing was if that costs him a quarter of a shot or a half a shot around on average, then you're diminishing his chances to win. So if you're in a winner-take-all thing, don't pick Dustin necessarily.
Yeah, if you need a top 10, maybe.
If you're in something where, yes, a top 10 and the salary structure
Make the
works
cut.
out okay,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
go ahead and pick him.
Well, I think everybody would say that Jon Rahm, if you want 5 guys, based on form, based on chutzpah, you're going to look at a Xander Schauffele, Brooks Koepka, Colin Morikawa, Jon Rahm. These are names that a lot of people would look at. I would shade Rory McIlroy. I would factor in here perhaps a Patrick Reed, who looked good. I don't feel great about Justin Thomas. Oddly, I do feel really good about Louis Oosthuizen, who is, if you're just, again, picking 5, 6 golfers, depending on kind of pool you're in, to make cuts and to be a top 25, Louis Oosthuizen is in great form right now, and he can putt. So, it's not.
He's a bomber enough, too. That,
Yeah.
It's 7,600, I think, is what this course is going to be playing for the weekend.
Wonder if you feel good about a Patrick Cantlay, who,
He's the FedEx Cup leader. That's about the most I can say.
well, he's also, he won at Muirfield Village. He's a guy that at 29 has kind of come into his own. He is under the umbrella of those that are the best to never have won a major. He's kind of in that category now. He's worked his way into that place.
Got an odd feeling about Morikawa this week. I've got a theory. Unless you're inhuman, that's the word, inhuman, like a Tiger or somebody else, if you win your first major, it's going to take some time for the luster to come off of that and for you to be able to grind and go get another one. I think enough time has passed for Colin Morikawa from his first PGA that now he might be able to go and get him. And it's the West Coast. I know San Diego is not exactly where he grew up playing, and obviously it was closer to his neighborhood where he won. But that guy can make big-time shots. He
just struggles on the greens, and those greens are tiny here, so it helps him.
It does, because apparently, according to all the experts, and I watch the Farmers, but I don't really take notes on Torrey. Like, they've only hosted one Open, and it was Tigers in 2008, which, expect anything different. Can we stop playing that for the week, please? It's already been played a million
It is pretty
times.
awesome.
It is, but I mean, good God. This course rewards distance control, and Colin Morikawa and distance control go hand in hand.
Well, to your point, here you go. He finished tied for 21 at Torrey Pines in 2020. So he's played here. You have a sample size. The small greens benefit poor putters. He is not a great putter. He has weeks where he's good, and when he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he can't make anything. So he's a weird player in that way, because if he's making putts, he's going to win a ton, and here's why. He's tops on the tour in greens hit in regulation, strokes gained, approach to the green, and shots around the green. So
everything but the 10-footer.
Yeah, I'm going to lead every meaningful category in golf, save for I can't make a lot of putts. And if I did, you all would not have a chance to beat me. But that's just, listen, there is no perfect player. It's very rare you find a guy who's not somewhere in the middle of the pack in one of those meaningful categories. So it's hard, right? Very few people have a perfect game tee to green.
How do you feel about Matsuyama?
Okay, so here's the thing with Hideki. I mean, all the pressure is off of him, right?
Yeah, for some guys, the major begins a new level of pressure. I think for Hideki, it relieves every bit of pressure he's ever felt.
2019, Torrey Pines tied for third. He has, at Torrey Pines in his career, 3 top 25s. You're fair to wonder. It's not a bad pick. I like him. I love his game. I mean, he's another one of those guys. If he's making putts, look out. He does everything else well. He hits it a mile. He's consistent. Ball striking's great.
I just got to think that the period of time between the Masters and now has been one of complete relief on so many levels.
Oh.
When you're carrying the entire nation, I mean, and then you finally make good on that promise that was made, 6-7 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be unbelievably freeing. Go get him. And he does love the West Coast. He typically plays well. I mean, you've got the numbers for Torrey, but in general, that part of the season, January, February, he usually whoops ass out there.
Justin Rose is not a bad pick. He's played well on this venue, and I would say a good guy to pick every week, all the time, the rest of your life. Will Zalatoris, everybody. He is a top 20 machine and always in contention and not afraid. Second place at the Masters, your first ever visit. Not afraid. My man can play.
Yeah, he's as unafraid as he is skinny.
He is unbelievable to watch hit a golf ball, especially when you get that view from behind the tee box. To see how straight he hits a golf ball is silly.
You ever seen a flagpole hit a golf ball?
That's him.
You have now. His name is Will Zalatoris.
Wiry strength, and again, a belief in what he's doing over the golf ball, no matter the situation. I love watching that. You saw it in college with John Pack. When you watch John Pack hit a golf ball in college, it was as if, as he addressed the ball, he was saying to his opponents all around him, F you, this is going to be good. You know it's going to be good, and I know it's going to be good. You know how I know it's going to be good? Because I'm John Pack. Watch this. And then he would just walk to the ball, and you'd go, this is going to be good. I do that with Will Zalatoris. Every time I watch him, I'm like, this is going to be good. He's not going to mishit this one, boys. It's just, he always hits it well. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Another hour. In fact, if you're in the car, headed to the house, wrapping up work, whatever it is you're doing, stay tuned to the Jeff Cameron Show. I have been accused, rightfully so, over many years of doing radio, of not teasing segments properly, of refusing to tease segments properly.
For the record, that never bothered me. Other people bothered you about it, not me.
No, well, yes. I didn't listen to them. I would not have listened to you, despite my love.
Not saying you would have.
I know. I'm just saying. I didn't. I thought the formulaic way of doing radio was something that I wanted to push back on. Now, I also get that there is a right way to tease segments, and there were times where it would have benefited me to do so. But I'm an ass, and I just didn't want to.
There's no start and no beginning to the show. You have to say hello, but pretty much you enter like mid-conversation every time. And unless it's an interview you got to do the right thing.
Oh, you got to tell somebody. Yeah, you honor the guest, right.
But if it's a take, the hell are we doing?
No, and I never, it was always something
Give you
that
my
bothered
thoughts of
me.
the college football playoff in about 40 minutes. Get the hell out of here.
Coming up next, we'll reset. No, I never wanted to do that sort of thing, and I hated it to begin with. The late, great Lee Bowen used to get on me. I remember these conversations like it was yesterday. He'd come down the hall. He'd be like, are you ever going to tease what you're talking about next? I'm like, no. I need you to do that. I'm not going to do it, Lee. But I need you to do that, Jeff, because, people might decide whether or not to stay with us for an extra 5 to 10 minutes. And we need the time spent listening numbers. We need this, you can help us with this. These are things that are charted. It's used to sell advertising. It's, and I used to say, listen, I get it. Nobody does that better than Rush Limbaugh. Even if you thought he was full of it, nobody was better than him.
It's full of dirt now.
Of setting up the next segment and teasing the next segment. But I didn't want to do it. I thought it was formulaic. But I'm going to do it right now. We have a big announcement to make in the start of the next hour. So there's your tease. Hang through the break and stick with us. It's an important announcement to make regarding the show and regarding Tom and regarding some upcoming plans. So it's just important that you carry on with us here through this. Now, that said, over the years, one of the many things that I've enjoyed is the variety of athlete excuses for transgressions, for either acts against, say, the law or rules of the game, or the agreed-upon social contracts we all sign in order to get through our day-to-day lives, right? All of these sorts of things. Because when athletes get caught, they often will not take responsibility for their actions. And because of that, the Jeff Cameron Show PR firm was born. And we were able to really rake in the money for many years. The conferences you've been to, Tom, in Hawaii, in which we always have a guest speaker. I usually speak as well. It's when we reveal our latest and greatest placards, and go-to placards.
It's a really big event because we booked Turks and Caicos to fly from the Caribbean all the way over to the Pacific.
Always.
And you have to.
It's awesome. That day by the pool, or that evening by the pool, is the highlight of the convention.
Right. That's day 2 because you got to grind. And then day 2, we break early.
Yeah.
And give people a respite. And then they have the morning on day 3, and then we get right back to it for day 3, 4, and 5.
It's huge. I always think to myself, I can't wait to make the announcement. Usually people are working diligently. There are various press conferences or mock press conferences going on in which we're putting to use the placards, the aforementioned placards. And I say, hey, everybody, real quick, wrap up what you're doing. Complete what you're doing. Turks and Caicos are here. Turks and Caicos have arrived. I am pleased to report. Just got done talking to Turks in the back. Man, he is ready. So is Caicos. So can't wait. We'll see you by the pool. Boat drinks on me. All of us. Turks and Caicos, 25 minutes from right now. Be there, be square. Okay, guys? See you there. I love that announcement. It gives me a little pizzazz, a little oomph. I'm flying high at that moment.
Well, it's like when you first see the electric blue punch bowl, right? You're like, oh, there it is.
They wheel it out. They wheel it out, yeah.
We never want the red punch bowl, always the electric blue.
people forget they're awaiting the red punch bowl, and then they see the electric blue, and they're reminded, that's right, these sons of bitches, they do this right every year. That's why day 3 is so difficult. It is. But you bond. Day 3 is where you really bond. Day 1's about getting down to work, quickly reintroducing the principles of the JCS PR firm, introducing the latest techniques and placards for all my clients. Day 3 is where you got to buck up. That morning comes early after Turks and Caicos. That's a toughie.
Yeah, that's why we have the breakfast buffet.
Yeah.
And then the first session's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Local time.
A lot of sweaty people in those
Local
rooms.
time.
A lot of sweaty. Local time is important. Very sweaty people in those rooms. We usually forgive those that hop up in the middle of a presentation and race off to the bathrooms. We understand.
Yeah, that could be a polo shirt day. You don't have to wear the button downs.
No, very, very casual that day. And then we get really back after it. Hard work. And then for those of you that have ever been and hung out to the end, that last day before we all catch a flight back to our respective hometowns and offices, that's a fun day too. That makes it's a tough flight. Usually we're a little loose as we get the cabs to the airport. Everybody's a little loose there at the hotel bar. It's a good one. It's a good one.
A lot of beat red customers.
Oh, it's a good time. So over the years, we've trotted out some of the many excuses as offered and posited by the athletes around the globe that we think this is a teaching moment. This is an opportunity to really glean insight into the human condition and how we can best offset these kinds of over-the-top absurd excuses for their behavior. And on this special day, which you'll find out about next hour, first segment, how's that for a tease? I thought it was only appropriate that we delve right into this. U.S. champion Shelby Houlihan has now been banned for 4 years for testing positive for steroid use. Shelby, the American record holder in the 1,500 and 5,000 meters, posted on social media that she's been banned for 4 years following a positive test for what she concluded was, are you ready for it? A tainted pork burrito. I did not take steroids. I have not used illegal substances of any kind. I do think that perhaps I ran afoul of the rules thanks to a tainted pork burrito.
Not just screwing, Mitch.
Houlihan's announcement on her Instagram account Monday arrives days before the start of the U.S. Olympic track and field trials in Eugene, Oregon, where the top 3 in each event earn a spot to the postponed Tokyo Games. She finished 11th at the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics in the 5,000 meters. Houlihan is 28 years old. She received an email from the Athletics Integrity Unit, also known as the AIU, as you all know, on January 14th, notifying her and all in her party that a drug testing sample returned a finding for the anabolic steroid known as nandrolone. Nandrolone.
Anabolic steroid. Oh.
Anabolic steroid. Old school. She said she's, since learning of this, long been understood it, this is a poorly written sentence. She said she's since learned, it has long been understood by WADA, that is the World Anti-Doping Agency.
That's TJ Quinn's beat.
That eating pork can lead to a false positive for nandrolone, since certain types of pigs produce it naturally in high amounts. Pig organ meat has the highest levels of nandrolone. Houlihan made a list of all of the food that she ate leading up to December the 15th, the day of the test, that produced the adverse analytical finding for the anabolic steroid. We concluded that the most likely explanation was that I had a burrito that I purchased and consumed approximately 10 hours before that drug test from an authentic Mexican food truck that serves pig. It's near my house in Beaverton, Oregon. I notified the AIU that I believe that burrito was the culprit for my positive test. She added that although my levels were consistent with those of subjects in studies who were tested 10 hours after eating similar burritos, the lab never accounted for that possibility. They could have reported this as an atypical finding, followed up with further testing. The anti-doping experts I have reached out to say they should have done just that. I did everything I could to prove my innocence. This was a burrito. She said she passed a polygraph and has since given hair samples analyzed by toxicologists. WADA agreed that tests proved that there was no buildup of this substance in my body, which there would have been if I had been taking it on a regular basis. Nothing moved the lab from their initial snap decision to ban me. Instead, they simply concluded that I was a cheater and that a steroid was ingested orally, but not regularly. I believe my explanation fits the facts much better. That I had an authentic Mexican pork burrito that triggered a positive test.
That's good to know.
I also believed it was dismissed without proper due process. Houlihan has said she has since informed those involved in the sport that she plans to file action. Also, the Court of Arbitration for the sport responded by not accepting her explanation of what had occurred and subsequently banned her yet again from the sport for 4 more years. I am completely devastated, lost, broken, angry, confused, and betrayed by the very sport that I've loved and poured myself into for all of my life. Houlihan set the American 1,500-meter record of 3 minutes, 54.99 seconds at the World Championships in Doha, Qatar in 2019. Last July, she broke the U.S. 5,000-meter mark with her time of 14 minutes, 23 seconds, 92 tenths in Portland, Oregon. I want to be very clear. I've never taken any performance-enhancing drugs. That includes that of which I am being accused of now. I believe in the sport and pushing your body to the very limits just to see where that limit is. I'm not interested in cheating. I do this for the love. I do not do it for the accolades or the money. I don't do it for the people to know my name. I do it because I love it. I have so much fun doing it. It's always the best part of my day. That's a bit excessive, Houlihan. We don't need to go on and on. You're prattling. We get it. You love the sport. Nobody knows your name because you run track. Now, that said, where are we ranking this one on excuses? It's an all-timer, a pork burrito. Also noted here, quote-unquote, an authentic Mexican pork burrito. She wants you to know,
Yes.
I'm not fooling around
No.
with, sorry, Tex-Mex. This is real
Right.
Mexican burrito.
Oh, I think she's trying to blame the Mexicans.
Yeah,
I think that's what she's trying to do, is trying to somehow appeal to WADA's jingoism.
I don't.
But that's the World Anti-Doping Agency, not
No, she's not.
not a sect of this population. Like,
Right.
it's the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was authentic Mexican food. My favorite part is they said, "Oh, that's your explanation. We're banning you for longer." It reminds me of The
Yes.
Breakfast Club. You want another one?
Yep. You want another one? Yeah. Oh, that's a great scene.
What was that? Eat my shorts.
You just bought yourself another Saturday, mister.
Crushed.
You just bought one more right there.
Well, I'm free the Saturday after that. Beyond that, I'm gonna have to check my calendar.
Good! Because it's gonna be filled. We'll keep going. You want another one? Say the word. Just say the word. Instead of going to prison, you'll come here. Are you through?
No.
I'm doing society a favor.
So?
That's another one right now. I've got you for the rest of your natural-born life if you don't watch your step. You want another one?
Yes.
You got it. You got another one right there. That's another one, pal.
Cut it out.
You through?
Not even close.
Yeah.
Bud. Good. You got one more right there.
You really think I give a shit?
Another.
Okay. Oopsie.
That'll be post-prod bleep.
That'll be beep. By the way, that scene goes from funny to uncomfortable because there's so much more at play with what's going on there.
Absolutely.
That you're like, that's why she gets uncomfortable too.
And that's why they write the line for Anthony Michael Hall when he's like, "Do you know how many that is?" You know?
Yeah, yeah.
That's no, sir. That's 7. Shut up. Because they need to lighten it a little
They
bit.
have to. Yeah, it's dark. It's dark. Still good. Still holds up.
Oh, it does. What a
Still
movie.
holds up. Really well done. As an aside, Nandrolone. Better, Jeff. Better. Finally at the end. You got it. There you go. All right. High on the list. Top 5, top 10. I'm going to go top 10, especially because she went deep into the weeds with pig organ meat.
I prefer the pork burrito. Like, I get that that's the explanation, but I ate a pork burrito. That's it. And you just,
that's
stare
what
back
you,
at him.
stare back at him.
Excuse me?
Yeah, we all
Yes.
do.
Authentic Mexican
Yeah,
pork
not your
burrito.
nonsense at the Tex-Mex joint that you guys go to, you broke asses. No, I get the real stuff. Real Mexicans. That's right. They're right here in Oregon.
What do you know about that, Philip? What do you know about real Mexican food?
Oh, only that it's delicious. 4 years, hon. Thanks for the excuse. Final hour forthcoming. Announcement coming. Stay tuned. Jeff Cameron Show, at least 4 today. Thanks for tuning to it. Happy Lawn Maintenance Tuesday. Heads up. Let's go ahead and take inventory and kind of get ourselves organized for the remainder of the week. There's a lot of moving and shaking and shucking and jiving and maneuvering about. What's going on here? Headlines will run tomorrow, and I'll give you more details later this hour about how the rest of the week's going to go, and really the rest of June and maybe even some of July. We're doing. We've been hinting at this for a while. First of all, I'm Jeff. That's Tom. Matthew directing ESPNTallahassee.com. The website, if you're streaming the show, some of you have to do that because, I don't know, you can't get the radio signal or your bosses are on to you for whatever reason. That's where you go to do that. If you're listening to us on the old-timey radio, we appreciate that. If you're watching on YouTube, hello, YouTubers. If you want to email the show, JCS at 979ESPNradio.com, and on Twitter, it's at @JCameronShow and @_Tom Lang. Now, all right, so this is a weird hour. Weird is probably not the operative word to use here, but it's a big moment on the show, and I don't want to undersell that moment, and I certainly don't want to overstate it because there's good stuff on the horizons. But I'm going to spend a lot of this hour allowing Tom Lang, the executive producer of the Jeff Cameron Show, the operations manager here at ESPN Radio, my dear, dear friend and cohort now for a long time. It's gone by so fast because the relationship has been so fantastic, and both as coworkers and then most importantly to me anyhow, as one of my best friends in all the world. And it's interesting over the years what happens in a career. You go along and you meet people and they're fantastic, and some you work with for a very short period of time, and others you work with for a very long period of time, and they all have an impact. And then there are those that you meet along the way that well, I want that person in my life, whether they're a friend or I'm working with them, or hopefully, in a lot of cases, both. And Tom's one of those guys that joined the Jeff Cameron Show as an intern back when I worked for Clear Channel, the old 1270 The Team days. And, I've had a lot of interns over the years, and he'll tell you I can be dismissive. I think it's probably a way to say it. Maybe even disinterested in certain aspects of that. Not that I don't care about every kid that's ever come through here, but you get bogged down doing your own stuff and you let others worry about internships. It's just not something that was really on my ledger unless there was a reason to really take notice. And I'm going to save a little bit of time here because I want to get out of the way because I want Tom to be able to talk to you too a good bit this hour. But Tom's somebody that right off the bat, Matt Millar was working with Tom in the internship program, and I think the very first time Tom ever sat down in my studio, and there's a 15-year age difference between Tom and myself. So almost by definition, I looked at him as a kid back then. And so I just thought, well, he's so much younger than me. We can't possibly have much in common. But in due time, in a very short period of time, I might add, I learned that he was an old soul. He clearly was mature beyond his years. And in a lot of ways, I certainly thought to myself almost instantaneously upon getting to know him that he was so much more mature than I was at his age. And I knew he was smart. It didn't take long to have that conversation. You could sense it, when you meet somebody who's smart. And we just instantly hit it off. And our dialogue, our conversations, our humor, our sense of humor, it was big. And I found out that he had been a listener of the show while a student, and that, he was excited to work on the show. And then soon I saw the kind of impactful work he could do, both for the show, for me, but also for Matt, and really for the company at that time. And we just hit it off. And I felt like Tom's somebody I'm going to want to work with. That kid, and I no longer think of him as a kid. Now I think of him as a younger brother.
I was.
You were. That's true. But you didn't have nearly as many weird idiosyncrasies as most of the kids of your era that I struggled with, as every group that's 15, 20 years apart does, right? You're kind of like, I don't know, you guys are into some sorry stuff. Like, that's what every generation thinks. Like, the way you view 20-year-olds now was how I was viewing you, which was sort of like, okay.
Yeah, 22, all I wanted was a beverage and to be able to play darts. That was it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Maybe some wiffle ball if we had time.
Whatever it might be. And so we did work together, and we continued to work together, and he continued to pick it up really quickly. And all the aspects, all the things that I didn't do, the stuff that Matt Millar did as a great producer and as a ops manager and as somebody who was a PD of a station, Tom was learning all that stuff in succession really quickly, and he was picking it up, and soon he was Matt Millar's right-hand man, and then he began to do stuff for me on the show, and then I realized his importance there too, and the age gap narrowed quickly. And so when I left, I'm going to speed up here. When I left Clear Channel, there were a lot of things that were going on. I don't want to get into details there, but it had a lot to do with contracts and who was under them and who wasn't, and negotiations, and I don't want to relitigate that and rehash that. But I knew that I wanted somebody that could come with me, and I was getting offers that I trusted implicitly and that I knew was hardworking, was fearless, funny, intelligent, and going to step foot into this new building and do something great. And I knew that was Tom Lang. And so I asked if at that time he would be willing, because he was an intern. He wasn't a full-time employee.
Making $9 an hour. I was game. I was ready to go.
He was not under contract.
The answer was yes.
And the answer became a resounding yes. And we've been here at ESPN ever since. And Tom has done a lot of work, more work than I've ever done. He's made me look good every day he's been here. And he has helped so many people on and off the air, behind the scenes, our countless advertisers. So by now, the first 7.5 minutes of this hour, you can tell that we're building towards something regarding an announcement from Tom. And I'm going to let him make that announcement. And I don't want to sit here and blubber for an hour. We've had conversations off the air. We've had a lot of conversations building up to this day. I'm going to try to keep it together and do some semblance of a professional hour. But I love Tom Lang with all of my heart. And I've told him that directly and looked him in the eye, told him that. I won't look him in the eye right now.
Please don't. I'm staring at the board right now anyway.
But I do love Tom Lang, and I'm going to miss him being around here. I can tell you that. This particular building and then that particular room that he produces in. And those interactions are going to change. My interactions and his interactions as it pertains to sports media, it's about to change. And Tom, if you would, you can tell really our audience and anybody else for that matter what you want to tell them regarding your immediate future. I know you're not going to get into great detail right now. There are still things that have to be completed and worked out. But the floor is yours, my friend, to tell the folks what you will.
Feels like my first show as an intern. The butterflies. I remember those butterflies from back in 2009. I was 22, man. Just 22 is a long time ago.
I know, it's crazy. You're 40.
Yeah, pretty much. I think in terms of soul age, I'm up to about 45.
Well, you were 22 going on 40 then. So.
I remember talking to Mike Famey, who was in this chair in this building. Well, not this particular structure, but at 97.9 before I got here. And he's the first person in the timeline of ESPN Radio that deserves thanking, because the circumstances by which the guard was changed here at WTSM weren't fair. And Mike has been a gracious friend from the word go. And I've always appreciated that, because some people want to do things the right way and some people don't. And Mike was always about doing things the right way. And so I very much always appreciated that about the time here. Ron was the same way. He came back to be our GM. But today is my last show here on the JCS after a nine-year run, I guess, almost 9. And that's a bummer. I'll be sticking around in Tallahassee as a member of the sports media. Won't get into further detail just yet, but I'm not going far. But it's a sad day because we have gone through an awful lot here. It's more than just a building change and the technology change from the awful software that we had when I got here to the next gen that we had with our Clear Channel days. There's been a lot. if anybody cared to read the book, I think I'd write it because you wouldn't believe some of the crap that happened over the years. But what I want to say to the listeners, because they're the first person to thank, if you're not here, then we're not here. And when it was 2013 in the fall, and every media outlet in the country and some international outlets descended upon Tallahassee, I still thought of this town as a place that I worked, I went to school, but home was Palm Harbor and Clearwater. It was where my parents were, and this was still an extended college experience for me because I landed the internship while I was at Florida State. I was still going to class. Like, one of the shows we had in 2009 was a graduation show.
Yeah.
You know, it was the Friday that we hired Mark Stoops. I was driving my parents around. You and Millar had a great time at AJ's that day live on the air.
Yeah, we may have.
I was laughing my ass off driving around town thinking, oh, my God. And they're like, congratulations to the newest grad. I remember all that.
Yeah.
So it was an extended college experience. But I remember distinctly when Tallahassee became home. And that's when the machine started saying that this was a city full of people who were okay with sinister behavior, because it meant football wins.
Yeah, that was the painting that was the picture that was painted by the national
Broad
media.
strokes
Yeah.
by television media, print media,
Yeah,
you name it, they painted it. And I remember being furious those days. You remember those show meetings that we had? Those were tough ones.
Of course,
because
we would have to settle each other down.
and every word that we said was going to be parsed. ESPN would patch in and listen on our equipment.
They used quotes from the show and conversational elements of the show in various packages that they ran nationally. Yes,
Right, and they asked for permission that time. When you said that if you can't block Sanford, we're screwed, they didn't ask for that. They just took it. But back in 2013, they asked permission, and they patched into this tie line machine right to my left. I remember seeing the connection and going, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Because the connection quality was, you couldn't even compute it. I was like, oh, that's Bristol. And they said they would be there. So we had to be on our P's and Q's.
I'm getting stressed thinking about this because those shows,
unbelievable.
I'd wake up in the still of night, and to your credit, you were on call because we had to soldier through that together, and I trusted you. I want to compliment you here. This is about your saying goodbye, but I'm going to interject this.
No, the stories are what mattered, man.
Tom worked tirelessly, and he knew. And this is where I say all the time that he makes me look good. You know, he knows my name's on the show. And I took great pride in trying to get the information out there to be as objective as possible, but also to push back against the unfair characterizations of the citizens of this town, of the graduates of Florida State or the fans.
The employees of the university,
all of it.
the students.
Anybody associated with Tallahassee, frankly. And so we would have show meetings, and it involved a lot of intricate conversations about how do we get from here to here? How are we successfully able, without being overly emotional, to refute this? Plus, we were armed with things that the public wasn't armed with informationally, some of which had legal bearing, and we had to be very careful.
Some of which we still have never said.
Oh,
and I
we
wonder how
can't.
much time needs to pass for that to, people
We'll
probably need
both
to die
be retired.
off.
Yeah, we'll be retired. That is true. There are some things that I could talk about, but I'm waiting for the people to die.
But the report itself pointed to what we were hearing from behind the scenes with well-connected sources and your sources. But we would vet it together, and I was on guard constantly. Sitting here, I mean, I would grip the board with I'm like Dan Ugla holding a bat, because I knew that any 4 to 6 word phrase could be taken out of context and used against the show, the city. You know what I mean? You had to be very, very careful, to the detriment probably the day-to-day listener who says, we understand your qualifiers. Stop saying if he's guilty, then let him go to jail. But you've got to be careful. And I remember being so mad, and it was at that point I realized I'm mad because this is my home. Tallahassee is my home.
Yeah.
It's not just about, the college I went to or my first job. No, I'm here. I'm here for keeps. And it's been 15 years now that I've lived in this town, and I've seen its heart at every bowling tournament, at every charitable function that we've ever wanted to be a part of or suggested that people support. You guys turn out in droves. The clients that we have unbelievable hearts, and they're unbelievably giving people. And so the last day here on this radio station, for me, on the air, maybe I'll jump on for a segment here or there
Oh, you're
in
damn
the
right
coming
you will.
weeks. But Who knows? Maybe there'll be more stories to tell and good ones at that.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to, from the bottom of my heart as a citizen of the town, say thank you because you're generous, you're kind, you have an unbelievable heart, and you've supported us for so long. And dare I say, you'd continue to support us if the station wasn't sold and changing formats in 3 months.
Well, now that you've broached that,
And that's kind of been an open secret because it's public record. But,
right? I'm not chiding you. But now that that's official for those that didn't know, we should make sure we clarify everything here.
Did I screw that up? Should I have said
You
that?
did not screw that up. At some point, we were going to tell everybody that. You're right. There are plenty of people who already know it, but the station has been sold, and I'm going to continue to do the Jeff Cameron Show. Tom Lang be damned. It is going to continue, but there's going to be more on that as well. It's not about the show continuing. It is just for purposes of, hey, there are advertisers listening. There are listeners on a daily basis who listen to us on a commute, and they're saying, is the show going away today? No, it's not. But it is going to change, obviously. Tom Lang's a big part of this show, a huge part of this show. So I will continue. I've done that off and on in my career before. I can do it. Matthew and I are going to continue to work hard together. But it's an emotional day for us. It's hard to talk about the importance and really to overstate the importance. It's impossible for me to overstate it. That Tom Lang's absence is going to be felt in this building in a way that's indescribable. He's a rock. Thankfully the friendship isn't going anywhere. If anything, it's gotten stronger. So I'm not saying goodbye because you're moving to Saskatchewan.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to be here. And that's one reason that I can kind of keep it together today.
Oh, I'm a Tallahassean.
Because I'm going to see
man.
you. And we're going to play golf. And we're going to talk sports. And we're going to have beers. And we're going to talk about our private lives and everything else. But in terms of today, this is it. So I think there'll be a couple of opportunities for you to, as Joe Blow, citizen of the world, to stop on in and sit down at the chair and have some conversation. Lord knows you're always going to be welcome here.
And thank you. Well, and certainly to anybody and everybody who's been a part of the building, I would request that before this is over, some of the huge pieces, I'd like to say thank you to you as well. But the first person to thank has to be the listeners, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. Every time we've done an event, and they've gotten bigger over the years. Libations Fest, the original one back in 2012 was fun. But you know how it got bigger? There were more things to give out. Hell, we had free kegs of beer, towards the 8th or 9th annual, whatever it was.
Well, we had 13 years worth of golf tournaments, which one day I hope to bring back. We had all of the Libations Friday Fest. We've had draft parties. We've had countless get-togethers, both for fun but also for charity. As you correctly noted, it doesn't take much of a nudge to get this community to show up and do the right thing by those that don't have, or in dire need.
In one part of your brain that, because we see the metrics, this is a well-listened-to program, not just within our demo, outside of the demo, but Men 2554 and Nielsen, and we subscribe, so I can say that. Yeah. It's great. You look at the pod numbers, they're big. Yeah. And so that people love the show, and that's great because they want to dial back into Tallahassee. But still, when you hold a physical event, pre-COVID, of course, but you hold a physical event, you're like, I wonder if anybody's going to be there.
And then they are.
And then you walk in and you just internally want to weep because you're just so thankful. I mean, it's it's a day of just expressing my thankfulness and gratitude, man.
People are good, man. Well, so we have to take breaks this hour. We'll take one and come back and continue. And there are some people I know specifically you want to thank, and you can gather your thoughts on that. And it's impossible to get to everybody. So there are going to be people that have been associated with this station that I know that might not get mentioned today. And I know you'll do a good job of noting that you can't get to everybody, but there are some people you certainly want to thank personally. But I think, again, I know it's a sad day because it's change. It's tough. We all, as human beings, struggle with change. But I'm also celebrating today because it gives me a chance to think back on all these years we've been together on this network, all the time we spent together professionally, of course, the friendship. And I just think that, man, we took a chance, Tom, and I was able to take that chance and walk away from where I was. Granted, they kind of made it easy on me in that they pissed me off. But it was still a leap into the unknown. And you took that with me. I'm forever grateful. You elevated this show. You elevated this station. You've been a mentor to a lot more people than I have while here at ESPN. You've been incredibly hardworking, very insightful, and willing to come to the table and give of yourself around every turn in a way that is not only admirable, but is absolutely tough for me to grasp. I think maybe I'm just more selfish than you are. I just can't. I mean, you really are a kind, giving, loving, intelligent man. And I'm going to miss that on a day-to-day basis. Part of what makes working here and working with you so special is that we have an unspoken connection. We don't even have to talk about certain subjects or segments on the show to know that it's going to work out. I can just look at you and you can just look at me in the middle of a segment and we get it. We just know here's what's needed. Here's what's coming next. And I can't put into words what that means to me as a host to have a producer of your caliber, of your work ethic, of your intelligence. So I love you, and you're going to be missed. But lest we lose it here on the air,
Right.
thankfully you are going to be around, and I'm going to see you. So it's not like goodbye forever. It's goodbye for now from here.
Right. A lot of times you hear people in a toast for whatever reason, retirement party, moving, or whatever. It's not
They're
goodbye,
about to be
it's
dead
see
at
you
the
later.
Masters.
Right. Jesus. And so we remember
I'm right here,
Arnold
guys.
Palmer.
I'm here.
We remember
Arnold, we're trying to remember
please.
you. You'll be dead in an hour.
that they say, it's not goodbye, it's see you later. No, legit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the good part of this. It's not. Yeah, I'm not moving to Halifax just yet. Maybe someday in
due
coming
time. Now, that
decades.
will be a tear-filled goodbye because you are going to move there someday. I
think
already
so.
know that. I think so, too. We'll come back in a moment and kind of continue to round this out and talk and have some fun with it as well. It's the Jeff Cameron Show. It's not a somber day. It is not a somber day. It's a day to celebrate my man, T. Lizzy. He's going to be all right. I know personally that's true. Professionally, that's true as well. But it's just not going to be here in this building, in this studio, doing the Jeff Cameron Show as currently constructed at 97.9 ESPN Radio. And that's why it's a monumental day, because we took that jump together, and Tom has been a massive part of why ESPN Radio has been so successful. And it has been, most assuredly, a success. And when we left, I'm going to brag on us for a second. When we left my old place of employment, there were plenty of people who doubted that this would become, and I'm not going to do that thing where you're favored by 3 touchdowns, win the game, and everybody goes afterwards. Nobody thought we could do it. No, plenty of people knew that I was immensely talented. But we had to kind of engineer this thing the way that it played out, and I couldn't have done it without Tom Lang, and I knew that. I had enough sense to know I need that guy. And that turned out to be true.
Oh,
That turned out to be true.
The first person to really piss me off when I got in this building from a workflow standpoint was Chris Nee. Because on the day that we were launching the show,
The Camathon?
Balls McWednesday, 8/1/12, right? It was his tweet that I read. There were whispers that Greg Reed had been dismissed from the football team. And I said, these are hang on. We have about 3 hours out of the 8 pre-recorded with great interviews from different guests that we had to book over time, and that's fine. Talking about the upcoming season.
Oh, yeah.
Got a senior quarterback. This is going to be it. This is the perfect time to launch. These are just rumors. And then I saw Nee tweet it, and I thought, oh, dear God, it's true. You ass.
Yeah.
You
Why
ass.
do you have to be so good at your job getting that information? That's not cool.
That's the only time I've ever thrown anything in 9 years. It was a stapler against the foam wall at whatever it was, like 6:30 or 7 in the morning, because everything was screwed. Either some interviews had to be completely scrapped. We had to rebook people, do it live. There were no breaks anymore.
I had to go talk to Greg Reed.
You talked to Greg Reed personally?
I did. I spent 20 minutes talking to Greg Reed on the phone, and Greg was so apologetic. Like he was a different cat. I felt legitimately terrible for him. I went from being angry at him to kind of like, yeah, that's a kid who really made a terrible mistake again. But God, he sounds absolutely contrite. Like he really, it was awful. I walked into you. I go, he doesn't really want to come on. He told me everything he has to tell me. I can relay it to the audience.
That was
it's
better.
a weird deal.
You don't need the mob ganging up and getting mad at him because he's on with the, Nope.
The Camathon.
You remember that?
Oh, yes. I remember the build-up to it. I remember everything about it. Yes, absolutely.
Remember the defunct bagel heads brought us some food? That was delicious. You had your own sandwich.
I did have my own sandwich there. One of the great honors of my lifetime.
That's true, though.
It is true.
You were so proud.
I got to tell you something. Ben was the owner of Bagel Heads.
Yep.
You're right now thinking, my God, Cameron remembers his name.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
The Camwich.
Yeah, the Camwich, which was delicious. One of the better sandwiches this town's ever known. If anybody wants to bring the Camwich back, I'm all ears. But that place, Bagel Heads, which is no more on Appalachian Parkway, damn it, Ben. It was a fantastic place. I miss it dearly.
Me too. I moved out that way and there was no Bagel Heads. I thought, what's the purpose of moving out this way?
Well, and you talk about on a day where we were on the tinge or on the fringes of being emotional anyhow because of what today represents with you being in this studio producing this show as it's currently constructed, as I've said before for the last time at ESPN Radio. I might get emotional thinking about how much I love Bagel Heads. It really saddens me.
Their coleslaw was not mayo-based coleslaw. It was the vinegar-based.
It was so freaking
It was so
good.
good.
My mother-in-law and father-in-law loved Bagel Heads. And when you brought that up, it makes me smile, actually. They're no longer with us. But I would go meet them there. They would like to meet there on Sundays, and they would say, let's go there. And I hadn't thought about it until you just said it. And today is not about me, but it made me laugh because I remember the first day driving over there to see them, Christy's mom and dad. They did not know that there was a sandwich with my name on it. And so when they came in and we were sitting there, I didn't say anything. And they're looking up there, and then Mr. Carter turns to me and he goes, "You got a sandwich." It was hilarious. Anyhow, Tip of the cap.
Well,
Bagel Heads,
we
yeah.
had a lot of trade there and a lot of trade to a lot of places, and I enjoyed going to Bagel Heads.
I enjoy all the people that have been so supportive of us. Yeah, it's amazing.
That day was crazy because we had some new interns, and if you don't mind, thank just a few people over the
good
years.
God.
Because
hey,
this
listen,
station,
in fairness, you could thank 100 probably.
well, exactly, and I won't get to everybody, and for those that don't, I love you because we worked together. You were either my intern or an assistant or whatever, but you were important for sure. And this place, obviously, we've carried the banner for ESPN Radio in Tallahassee for the most time, but we're not the only people who carried the banner for this place, and so to the honest and good general managers that I worked under, Larry Wright, you're a friend for life. Jack O'Brien out in Jacksonville, who taught us some amazing things.
He was here for an hour, but he was awesome.
He was impactful. That was a big hour.
That was a big hour,
Big
man.
hour.
Big hour. Yeah.
Ron Vetrano making the return and obviously getting us to move over to this place. He's the reason the YouTube channel is even up in the first place. That was Ron's concept.
Also engineered the move specifically to this building. Yeah.
Which
all that.
was a pain in the ass, let
Yeah.
me tell you, but it was necessary because as it
Well, the
turned
house
out,
was falling down.
and a tree fell on it that fall. Could you imagine?
Yeah,
Oh
the tree
my
fell on it
God.
that fall. I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess that both of us have had our lives shortened by our existence at that old place.
That's correct.
Asbestos, I'm sure.
We
and everything
probably
else.
could sue.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
I'm not kidding either. I don't plan on it. I'm not too litigious.
Yeah.
But I do think we have a case.
Alan Willis, who brought the Braves to town, that was his concept. Alan was somebody who I learned quite a bit about in terms of marketing and what it would be like to be the general manager of the station, which I don't know if anybody knows, but I've been the interim general manager for like 2.5 years now. They never naturalized the position, but it was.
There are a lot of things they didn't do, Tom.
Well, it's one of those things where at one point in this station's existence, you had a lot of people kicking a lot of ass in a lot of different ways. And then towards the end, it was fewer people, very few people kicking ass in a lot of different ways, more than maybe they should be. But all the same, you learn. Everything is a learning experience and teaches you how to be even stronger. And another group that made us strong was our clients. I love a lot of the people that we work with day to day. Bill over at Corner Pocket has supported us since we were at 1270. Eddie has become a great friend. That's not just
Yeah,
a commercial.
yeah.
We're not acting.
No,
He's
Eddie's
a friend.
a good friend of mine, yeah.
Andy over at Orange Theory, of course, has been great to us.
Oh, we could go on for
We
a
could
long
go on
this
forever
could,
and ever.
I mean, we could not exist as a business without the support of the many clients that we've had, some of whom you procured, some of whom I brought in.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter. You get to know the people. I say on this show all the time, do business with those who allow us to do business.
Absolutely.
And this is a community, and that's true. If you work with somebody and they do good work and they help support what you do, always remind folks to do business with them too.
And there's
it's imperative.
no possible way to mention everybody, but just a couple other headliners over the years who have really helped us and supported us. T-Spark, Travis Sparkman's been great. And Patrick Barano said yes to everything we ever neaded.
And Patrick,
Barano
I'll be
has
in
been-
touch.
Yeah, he's been a... Well, listen, it's full steam ahead for you and everybody at the station for a little while. I'll
Currently.
be behind the scenes for a couple more weeks. It's
Yeah.
just this is the last radio day. But then also, I mean, if you're talking about people that we worked with day to day, beyond the account executives, Travis and all the others, you know who you are. But Alicia was a rock for us for some time.
Still is in a lot of ways.
Yeah, she still comes out around, helps out.
I love her. She's a
You talk about-
unflappable supporter of what we do.
You know, I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate what you said about kindness and selflessness. But I don't know that I hold a candle to Alicia when it comes to
She's a special person.
being selfish. Selfless.
Yeah. Do you hear that?
well,
do you hear that, woman?
That's right.
Selfish ass.
You don't compare to me in the selfish department because I'm more selfish than you, Alicia. There's my save. She hasn't worked here in years and
No.
still would help us out with any event that we ever needed help with.
Oh,
or
next week, Alicia, I'll
the
be in
schedule.
touch. Got
Yeah.
some things for you.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. But then, you know, the one great thing about working here in this building right now is I am sandwiched by two really, really good fathers. And I'm sitting in a room over here with one of them, and he's hiding. He's hiding right now. But Director Matthew has helped me keep my sanity over the last couple of years by just whooping ass. And if the transmitter's down or the T1 line sucks, that was my job for a long time. But recently it's been about making sure the P&L reports agree and we do as much as we can in the sales department. And if it were not for Matthew to be able to do those things behind the scenes,
Yeah.
I would have quit a long time
no,
ago.
I know. Yeah.
A long time
Matthew,
ago.
just so you know, I'm going to interject here, and it's my fault Tom and I went and had a couple of beers. I sensed he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. This is well over a year ago. And
You correctly sensed that.
he was in trouble, Matthew. And I said, here's the thing, Tom. Give it all to Matthew. Put that son of a bitch to work. And Tom said, well, I mean, we don't pay him enough. He works hours upon hours above what he's required to do. It's not fair to ask. Tom, you put it in Matthew's lap and you look away. You tell him, you burn your ass out, Matthew. And that's how it's happened. He has been invaluable. You've done a good job of passing off some of the stress to Matthew.
believe
And I'm really proud of you for that.
So
Tom.
I told this to Fahmy after there was a changing of the guard here, and we'd go get beers intermittently. And one night we were getting beers. I'm like, you look great. He goes, it's because I'm out of radio, Tom. Yeah. He's like, look how rested
Do
I
you
am.
know there are ways to work in
Right.
the world in which people value what
Yeah.
you do and you're paid fairly for an honest day's work and
Well-
you leave it at the door when you walk out?
See, but all the BS.
Oh,
for-
it's worth it.
For a chance to sit here and be a part of this show.
Oh, it's
that's
been fun,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the whole point of it. But it will make you look like a president in their second term after time. And Matthew understands that now more in the last couple of years.
It's
But
because the two of you have great heart and pride for what you do. And, on that note, again, I have thought time and again and told my wife in private, and I hope I've told you enough over the years, man, I wouldn't be able to have done any of this really without you. And that's true of Matthew and a few other people that, certainly know because I've told them as well. But, buddy, I mean, you have to have a love for this medium, for this art, for what we do, for you to have put up behind the scenes with what you've had to put up with, and for the amount of work you've had to put in just to be able to do this. And trust me, I
you've
I
had
can
to hear
never
about
repay
it.
you. Yeah, I heard about it, yeah. And there were days where I'm like, all right, I get it. but I always appreciated that about you, him, and a few other people that have put in that same sort of work. But
well,
you two the most.
I'll get to you before the wrap.
I don't know
but
about all that.
I just I've got a great friend behind me in the studio here, a friend for life, I hope. And I'm thankful he doesn't want me to look back. Okay. But Matthew is invaluable and
true.
Unbelievable.
He
and
is.
The last person before I'm done doing this ThankFest 2021 is the most important person in my world away from here, and that is my wife.
Yes. I've watched that process.
Yeah.
That's been rewarding for me from
Boy,
afar.
she's seen me nothing but stress since 5 years ago because that was in the middle of the move. We met when we were moving studios.
Yeah.
And there were some nights at Gordo's North Side where things went wrong and maybe CenturyLink failed us. I can say that now because what the hell do I care?
Yeah.
And
Sons of bitches.
Yeah, and Matthew had to work the phones because he's got a connection.
Yep, yeah.
And she was there, and she goes, "Do you have to do this all the time?" I'm like, "In a way, yes, but not for a move like this. This is a one-time deal." But she's been the one. You know this with Christy. I mean, when you were making the switch from AM to FM, those were turbulent times.
Very. Oh, and for a year leading up to it, it was very frustrating.
At least you can fight it. They can't. All they can do is absorb what you're going through. And in a way, since they can't fight it, it's worse. So the stresses of the gig and all that stuff, I mean, there's rewards, no doubt. But Jamie's had to be the rock and bear that. And I'm just so thankful for her being a steadying force and someone who kind of brought balance to my world. Because in the beginning, when I was here, I'd be here till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Doing whatever and living it. And you need to have a little bit of something away from.
You have to. You
I
100%
can't stare at
have
Next
to.
Gen for
No,
12 hours a day.
Yeah, I've watched it happen. I've seen the impact, and it's been awesome to watch. Not only because you're, a dear friend, and anytime you are close to somebody, you want to see them in all aspects of their life succeed and be happy and be rewarded in some way. And love does that more than any other thing. So to see that has been awesome. But I've also watched her help you transform, have more balance.
Yeah.
You were already a mature person, but this became you.
We
This
all have
became
our foibles.
well,
though.
but I'm saying you became more mature in love. You became a more well-rounded individual.
She's been the color
Yeah.
in my world. There's a lot of outlines and stuff, but she's brought the color to the world for me and the balance. So, I wouldn't have gotten through this period. I would have quit like Matthew a long time ago if I didn't have somebody who was there just to be a listener. And I don't mean a station listener, somebody who just hear what I had to say. And so I know, again, this isn't a long goodbye. It's will be in the Tallahassee media here, and there'll be other announcements soon. But,
Yeah, we've got more
but
announcements.
she
down the line.
deserves unbelievable amounts of thank you, more than I can ever express, and that's why we're going on vacation soon, she and I.
Yeah, and luckily you'll have a lot of time to express it. You can express it tonight, tomorrow,
That's
next
right.
week,
Right.
the next 35,
We've only got
40
40
years.
minutes an hour
yeah,
here.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up momentarily. That play very long. Good song. It's time. Let's get to it. Brought to you by North Florida Payroll Services. You don't think just because it's a highly charged day, emotional day for all of us in the office, Tom Wang's last day, that we would somehow skip out on probables. Listen, Tom's important. But we understand Probables holds a special place in all people's hearts, including those that pay for it.
That's right.
That's right. North
Well,
Florida Payroll Services, Tom Lang.
That's who it is.
That's right. Locally owned for nearly 15 years, offering payroll and HR services, including full online applicant onboarding and integration into payroll. Save your company money and headaches today. Head to northfloridapayroll.com. Boom. Cue it
It's
up.
time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
No prolonged bitching and moaning about my sorry-ass Pirates, who, as I predicted, lost yesterday, will lose again tonight. Tyler Anderson on the hill tonight. Patrick Corbin going for the Nats. We got the Yankees and Blue Jays, Jordan Montgomery. Yinrin Ryu. I almost had it. Sorry about that, Ryu. Orioles, Indians, Matt Harvey. He sucks. They continue to roll him out there. Do you know he won 3 of his first 6 starts and was really good? Yep, last 11 starts, he's lost all of them and gotten his ass lit up to the tune of an 11-7-9. Bet against him every time out.
Terrible.
Cal Quantrill going to go for the Indians. I don't even care what his record is. He'll win. Cubs, Mets, Alec Mills, Tawan Walker, Bo Sox, Braves, Eduardo Rodriguez, Tucker Davidson, country club kid. Tigers, Royals, Casey Mize, Mike Minor. Thank God somebody's pitching for the Tigers. Different than what's-his-face. Rangers, Astros, Kyle Gibson, Lance McCullers Jr.,
Tyler
Rays.
Boyd.
That's
Yeah.
right. Rays, White Sox, Shane McClanahan. Dallas Keuchel going for the White Sox.
What do you want?
Reds, Brewers, Luis Castillo. He's not good. 2-9 with a 6.47, but they roll his ass out there. Brett Anderson, another Anderson going tonight for the Brewers. Marlins, Cardinals, Trevor Rogers, Kwang Hyun Kim.
Nice.
First time I've had a chance to announce him, but I nailed it. Padres, Rockies, Yu Darvish, stud. Chichi Gonzalez going for the Rockies. That's good. Angels, A's, Andrew Haney, Frankie Montas. D-backs, TBD. Giants, Zach Little. Twins, Mariners, J.A. Happ, still out here rolling. Chris Flexen, great name. Padres, Dodgers, Zach Eflin, Julio Urias. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. You know, I have to admit, now we've always done that bit tongue-in-cheek, this song that is. Don't think out there for a second that are listening that either one of us find this song rewarding. It sucks. It's a terrible song, but it always seemed to fit sort of the role that it needed to play on this show for Probables. It's kind of fun. But what happens is occasionally when we finish Probables and then we let that ride, I'm like, oh, no, I can't do it. Like the other ones you can let ride because we love Sinatra. We love some of the other songs. But that one, when you let it ride, you're like, no.
Oh, man, if it was playing on the back deck, I'd be like, all right.
You'd smile and laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nostalgic for those reasons, but it's a bad song. It's not a good song. It's a toughie. When you put it, you're like, okay, I get it. I get what you're doing here, guys. It's an ugly one. Hey, listen, I want to say really quickly, thank you, Tom. Thank you very much for your hard work. Your friendship, obviously, is what I value more than anything. You're a great producer. And you are a fantastic worker. And all the things I've said about you this hour, and I've told you in private as well as on the air, that remains true. I value you. If I'm talking about your professionalism and your expertise, it's a given. You're fantastic. I saw that in you when you were just an intern with us at Clear Channel, and I thought, that guy's going places, and I hope it's with me. And I took the chance on you, and I'm so lucky that I did because you've elevated this show immensely, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But I love you, and I'm going to miss you in this role. I'm going to miss you a lot in this role because I take certain things for granted. When you're around experts like Tom, you take things for granted. You're allowed to. I can drive into work knowing I didn't have to share with Tom 6 or 7 things I know I'm going to talk about today on the air because this guy gets me, and he knows where I'm going. And if I just go, he'll grab it, run with it, and not only that, he'll enhance it. And when he sees the opportunity, he's going to serve it up and allow me to play to my strengths. And I have taken that for granted for a long time. I hope to, in some capacity, in a different form, somewhere else at some point, continue to take you for granted. I hope I get that opportunity, but
I think, spoiler alert, bellying up will still exist.
It is
first
going
of
to
all.
continue to exist.
That we
and we're
can
gonna
share right now.
So long as the stupid-ass Hipcast allows it to go out to the world
Right,
because it hasn't this week, and we did one last week, and it's kind of
It's
some
an
of
hour
you got
20.
Some of you got it, some of you didn't. But I love you. I know where you're going. Not everybody else does. You're going to do great things, and it's going to be awesome. And I won't say any more about that for now. But you know I love you, buddy. And just listen. I can't thank you enough.
Well, before I say thanks to you, one person that I definitely need to thank is Matt Millar, who is my mentor in radio and an unbelievable friend.
Still is.
In the beginning, I was afraid of you, Matt, because when you got loud, you got angry and loud, and it was for keeps.
Matt used to hit people, and people don't know that about him. He's come through it.
What
and
he
he's
used to
gotten
do-
counseling. And
I couldn't see the damn door. Like the window was way too high when I was in the producing studio, and so he would two-hand shove it open and scare the living crap out of me.
it would make
3
me
times a
laugh.
week.
By the way, from afar, it would make me laugh.
It made him laugh. His little chuckle.
Yeah.
He'd chuckle like that and then say, "Hey, what are you doing? Go get us some lunch." Or
Tall Boys.
We need some Tall Boys. When you said going places, like to the Shell for Tall Boys or the Starbucks for coffee.
Coffee.
In the beginning, that's a rite of passage for interns. If Jeff asks you to go get him coffee, that means he likes you.
Yeah, I
It's
didn't
not
ask just
because you-
anybody. That's correct.
Correct. You don't trust just anybody for that role.
Not with coffee, no.
No, not with coffee. But Matt, honestly, man, I mean, I was never as good as you were in terms of production and programming behind the scenes, but I hope I continued what you taught me on the air, especially on the FM dial here at 97.9. But thank you for everything. You mean the world. And to you, my brother, across the glass, it's been 3 sets of double pane plexiglass. We looked at each other.
Yep.
A ragtag studio that gave me a lot more air conditioning at first in the FM dial.
It was a toughie.
Now you get the air conditioning, and I've had to bake for the last 5 years.
I felt like that's been a just reward.
It has been fair.
Because I wore it at the other place.
It has been balanced. Man. Pasadena, Baton Rouge.
It goes on and on, buddy.
Jameis' backyard. Well, Dr. Hobby's backyard.
Hobby, driving up there together.
Judge
You
Hobby.
sick as a dog?
I was sick as a dog.
Mm-hmm. I stopped by the CVS for you.
You have no idea how many memories, as long as my brain can still connect the dots, I'll have, and how much I really appreciate you giving me a shot. And I love you for that, but I love you for so much more than that.
No, I appreciate
So,
that, buddy. You earned that shot.
Thank you. And thank you to, again, everybody out there for caring about us, because we care about you. We really do. And a lot of people have said this to me over the years, whether it was the first Balls McWednesday or Libations Friday Fest or the most recent draft party. Remember the draft party as everybody getting
Not
back
that long
together?
ago, it was awesome.
6 weeks ago. They say, thank you, because you're giving me a break from some stuff that's really tough in my life right now. Thank you. Or they say, you're just a reason for me to laugh. A lot of folks have said that over the years. I'd like you to know out there that it was the same for me. This was a break for me too. It really was. It was a chance to just focus away from the BS, and we all deal with it. But it was for me what it was for you too. So thank you. And I can't wait to talk to you all at the next step, because, again, it's not like I'm covering Alabama or I'm covering USC next. I'm still going to be covering Florida State, and it's going to be fun. But I just thank you so much.
This would be a hell of a lot harder if Tom wasn't going to still be enriching our lives in the area, in the world of sports, and in many other ways. Thankfully, that's not the case. He's going to be around. We have more announcements down the line. It's just goodbye for now in this role. You know I love you, buddy. And
Love you too, my brother.
I'll be seeing you
We'll be golfing soon.
all the time. So, again, that makes it a lot easier to buck up and say goodbye in this capacity, because it's not really goodbye. It's just goodbye for now. Hey, love you guys. I'll be back doing the show on Thursday. Tomorrow is Seminole Headlines. But Jeff Cameron Show will go on in this current role, just a little bit different in the weeks to come. I have more announcements down the line as well. We'll keep you informed. Be good, everybody.